What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, ready to talk about the second half of Season 4 of The Bear, now streaming on Disney Plus internationally and Hulu in the United States. Joining me, return champion from last week, talking about The Bear. We don't have any Carlos this week, but we do have MetalCoreNerds, Sean Mott. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Today's a good day. Took a nice bike ride with my friend. It's not too sunny here. It's like 75. It was a really good, nice way to start the day. And I get to see Superman today. So good day. Good day for me.
I am very jealous of you, my friend. I don't get to go until Thursday, and I am I'm just seeing all of these positive reactions, and I'm so happy that they are positive. And I am just wishing that I could be having either already seen this movie or going tonight, something like that. But I will wait till Thursday. It's all right. I'll get through it somehow. But that does lead us into what you're watching, because Thursday I will be going to see Superman. I'll be writing the review for agencyfandom.com. And then I will be talking about it with our friends Damon and AF on Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live here on the channel. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our upcoming shows. I've been watching, as always, Love Island, and we'll be talking about that on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talking about Superman on Friday at 5:30. Sean, what about you? What you been watching?
I have not been watching Love Island. My wife and I have the running joke that I think we're the only people who don't watch Love Island at this point.
It's
And
crazy because we've been, like, my wife and I have been watching this since we've been together. We've seen all of Love Island USA. This is season 7 now. And this is now just like the most watched show on television. 5 years ago, this was not the case.
It's great. Yeah, it's seriously. She's like, "Are we the only people?" I'm like, "We might be. I don't know. I have no interest in it. No offense to anyone. I just, I get it. I get why people like trash TV. I understand it. It's just usually not my thing. I don't know, but I did finally drag my wife to the theater to see Materialists, the new Celine Song film with Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, and Dakota Johnson. Just a few, no names. But what a great movie that explores love in a really beautiful way. I feel like, I hope Chris Evans went to his team and was like, these are the movies I need to be in now that I'm not Captain America, because that dude is incredible in this movie. And I don't know, if you haven't watched Celine Song stuff, Past Lives is on Netflix right now. That was her movie that came out a few years ago, Oscar nominated. If you like The Bear, honestly, these are the kind of movies you probably want to gravitate to, because they are very human and just kind of study these like very intimate things with humanity and stuff. I'm trying to think I did watch Old Guard 2 on Netflix, which no one is talking about. And you know why? Because that movie is an hour and 47-minute trailer. It's a trailer. Like, it ended and I'm like, that's the end of the movie? Really? It's a setup. Like, it's like, it felt like Rebel Moon to me, where it's like, wow, that was the movie. You could have shown me a trailer in 2 minutes and it would have been the same thing. So kind of a bummer, because the cast is sick. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in it. Obviously, Charlize Theron returned, and Uma Thurman is in it. Just a bummer. So I wouldn't recommend that one, but I would recommend Materialists. And that's really, I think that's it. I don't know. My brain feels discombobulated with watching things right now, I think.
I'm with you. I feel like there is more that I've been watching that I just kind of can't remember off the top of my head right now. I feel like I have watched a couple movies in the last couple of days, but I chatted already on the show about having seen Heads of State, the new Idris Elba and John Cena movie, and it's fun. It's really enjoyable. It's not winning any awards, but like, if you got nothing to do and you want a fun popcorn movie, it's definitely an enjoyable film. But I guess we can just dive right in. There's no time to waste. We can just get right into talking about The Bear season 4. You can find our breakdown of the first 5 episodes up on the Agents Fandom YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. We are now going to be talking about season 4, part 2. Well, it's not separated in part 1 and 2, but it is for us. Episode 6 through 10, since it binge released all at once. Sean, last time we talked, you had only seen the first 7 episodes. Now that you have seen the entirety of the season, what are your spoiler-free thoughts, spoiler-free review to The Bear season 4?
I really love this season, like honestly. And I think it might be kind of what we were talking about when we were talking about the first part is I feel like this show hit me at a very succinct time in my life where I'm just ultra super relating to it. And I don't know if that's the reason. I mean, I like season 3, like I talked about last episode. So when some people didn't, uh, I just rewatched the series, and I don't know where I would rank it, but it's season 2 is still my favorite. I don't think anything's ever going to top that season of the show. That season is perfect. Season 1, I think, is pretty close to perfect. I think this one is up there with season 1 for me. I think season 3 might be my least favorite, but again, I still really enjoyed it. But what a great episode, and I love a finale that's just a conversation. I'm a sucker for it. It just happened with Ironheart mostly, not the whole thing, but I'm a sucker for a finale that's just a conversation about what's going on. So I really, really loved this season, honestly. Truly, just the season got me. I don't know. I know we're going to get into it, but the conversation with Carmy and his mom, I think broke me so hard. Wow. I don't know. I love this show. And I totally know what you're talking about because before this, I did not see the finale, but I saw some people saying this would be a good end to the series. And I'm in your camp. If they would ended it like this, I get it. That's kind of a bold, risky end, but I would be so upset to not know what happened after this. There's too many questions unanswered in the realm of the show. You can certainly pick up on things, but I think it needs more of a conclusion personally. Because yeah, that's too much to leave you hanging on.
Couldn't agree more. Like it literally almost felt like they were, if not setting up a season 5, setting up a brand new show. And so if that was going to be a conclusion, I would have been very, very upset. But thankfully, since the last time we spoke, if I'm not mistaken, like hours after we got off the podcast last week, The Bear has been renewed for season 5. It has been confirmed. And so fear not, despite the cliffhanger-esque end, we will be seeing more of The Bear going forward. And I'm thankful for that as well, because it really, really would have been, for me, a disappointing end to the season. Because even though, like, emotionally, I feel like a lot of characters got to the point of, like, I'm ready to take on the world now, I still want to see them take on the world. You know what I mean? Like, I still want to see them get to that point. Like, we are missing their conclusions. We kind of just feel like we got to the ramp up point. And if you want to end with the idea, like, and they live happily ever after, ramped up, sure. But that was not a conclusion. I need some kind of I need some kind of resolution to this show. So I'm happy we are getting at least one more season going forward. Let's start diving into things. I feel like I want to talk about episode 6 on its own, episode 7 on its own. 8 and 9, I feel like we can kind of blend together, and then 10 can go back to another one on its own here. But episode 6, what am I looking at here? Sorry, I kind of got confused. I was blending in episode 4 and episode 6 in my head. But we get episode 6 where her dad, Sydney's dad, had just had a heart attack, and she arrives at the hospital, and who is there but none other than Claire Bear to give her a hand, to help her through it. And this was a really, really powerful episode. It was kind of funny how it was combining the stories of Francie and Natalie and Neil and all these hilarious explosions of anger mixed in with this like deep, heartfelt, not grieving process, but like panic process that Sydney is going through. What did you think of episode 6? And give me your thoughts too. the resolution of what was happening with Sydney's dad, because that's kind of the cliffhanger of where we left the last podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think it was one of those moments. I don't know if I said it on the show, but I've been talking to people about it. I can't remember. I think it was episode 8 into episode 9 when like Carmy knocks on the door, and that's how the episode ends. And I was like, and same with episode 5 when it just ends with her leaving and go to the hospital. I'm like, can you imagine if this is weekly? But I think it adds to the point that the show should be weekly because that's such a good ending to an episode. Like imagine just waiting a week for that. Like
Yeah.
I think it's such a missed
Season
opportunity.
3 was the first one that I felt like very much warranted the binge model. Like because there wasn't a whole lot going on week to week. It was just a character exploration that blended into each episodes throughout. There wasn't really like stopping points. But this season very much felt like it could have been week to week.
Yeah, totally agreed. But yeah, I gasped when Claire appeared on screen, which Sam was like, okay, that was a little dramatic. And I was like, I know, but it was just like, it's cool when shows feel like they're connected. Like, of course Claire would be there. It's the hospital that she works at. Like, obviously she would be there, but you don't think about that until it happens. You're like, oh yes, awesome. And what a cool way for her to provide comfort to Sydney in this dire moment of need, where obviously it's more than just what her dad is going through. It's her kind of realizing that her life is kind of a mess, and she's trying to figure that out. And then the mortality of your parents is obviously a massive thing for us as like young adults to grapple with, and it's a very hard thing because you grow up and you think your parents are invincible and they're going to live forever, and the kind of the whole point of like life and death is kind of you don't get it until it happens to you, and then it becomes a very real thing that happens far too often. And this episode's kind of a massive kind of examination of life and death, because on the other side, it's Sophie coming to the restaurant for the first time, a lot of people meeting the baby for the first time. So it's this kind of like ebb and flow of the beauty of life, whether it's the beginning or the end, which obviously it's not the end for Sid's dad, but it kind of, I like how this season for Sid kind of nailed down, hey, yes, I'm trying to be successful at this thing that I really love, but I need to nurture everything outside of it. You saw it with her cousin when she was getting her hair done, and they said it without saying too much, being like, hey, you never come hang out with us anymore. What do you do anything besides your job? And I like how that put a microscope on it with a very real thing that's very relatable to, especially probably a lot of people our age. We've had scares like that, or things that have been worse than scares. So I feel like that was a nice way to kind of pinpoint, hey, there's other stuff besides your job. You need to nourish that also. So I thought that is just a really, like I said, I think the season is insanely strong, and this was a very, very strong episode. And on the Francie fact stuff, I firmly believe that the term "go fuck" is the best insult of all time.
Did you get Francie facts spoiled for you? Yes or no?
Yes. Yeah. Almost like days after it came out. Well, I saw that Brie Larson was in it, and then I saw as they were talking about Francie Fack, I was like, oh, I bet she's Francie Fack. It wasn't necessarily spoiled, just that she was in the show. So yeah, but pretty much I was like, oh, she's Francie Fack. That's pretty cool. But you guys could have waited a week. Jesus.
See, that is where I actually had like almost the polar opposite experience of you, is I didn't get it spoiled. And I mean, for what I feel like I do remember seeing some kind of report a really long time ago that the Brie Larson was going to be joining the Bear. Maybe that was from like a, like not on full on trade or anything, but just like some sort of exclusive from a scoop site sort of thing. I don't know, but I feel like I saw it pop up on my social media. So I wasn't really surprised, but I was not thinking that this was going to be a reveal. I was just laying on my couch watching this show, kind of tuning into it, but also just feeling like pretty brain dead. and I Googled Francie Fack because I wanted to see, like, have I met her before? Is this a character that I'm forgetting? And I saw it pop up as Brie Larson, and I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. That was a reveal. That wasn't somebody that I missed. That was going to be a reveal going forward. So I felt like an idiot about that. But we'll talk more about their relationship when we get into the next episode. In this one, we get a really, really nice moment where Richie, he's opening up more and more. He is becoming a healthy, getting close to, I don't know if I want to say healthy yet, but getting closer to becoming an emotionally healthy human being. And he opens up to Jess about how he's feeling about his ex-wife and her new partner getting married. And this is where we teased it a little bit last episode, but I'm really starting to feel Richie and Jess together.
Dude, I think by the end of this season, I turned to Sam and I said, if they don't get together, I swear to God. And we talked about this kind of last episode too, but they need emphasis on need to get together. I know there's a new kind of ship in the bear world, and it's Luca and Sid.
Yep.
Did we talk about that last episode?
Yeah, we talked about that one too. I'm on board with that one.
I like that one too. But God, this has to happen. It would just be a nice, like, we're talking about closure and everything like that. That would be a nice closure moment for Richie. The fact that he's able to move on and usher in a new romantic relationship. Because obviously he's still, not that he's like hung up on his ex, but it's cool that they're still like obviously they have a very healthy relationship now. They have a kid together, so that's important. That even if they're not together, they have a healthy relationship together. But it would be nice to see him move on, and like especially after he found this like new purpose in life, and he's so down for the cause. It would be nice for him to. Again, it's like this whole show is kind of about work-life balance, or more importantly, the lack of work-life balance, because all these people have none of it, 0% of it, so it would be nice to see.
We get the big lead up to next episode towards the end, and it's when Natalie finds out that her nemesis, her former best friend, Francine Fack, is going to be going to the wedding, and it's giving her some second thoughts, but she knows she has to go, which makes Carmy realize that even though his mom, he has not seen in years, is going to be at the wedding, and he didn't want to go, but now he's going to go too, as Natalie convinces him, and we get the lead in to a very, very incredible episode of television. To me, the clear best episode of television of the season. You kind of get these like mini event episodes in the Bear when they're over an hour long. And that's what we got with this one. And it's called Bears, which is feels right, because even though it is not a literal bear getting married, it's the ex of an honorary bear who has become an honorary bear herself. Very extended. It shows the importance this family has to the community, and it shows how even though it's an incredibly dysfunctional family, it's a family that cares, it's a family that is passionate, it's a family that doesn't know how to handle their own feelings, but somehow they make each other feel welcome in each other's lives for the most part, and they stay connected. And that's what we see here with the weddings. There's a whole bunch of chaos that we'll talk about bit by bit, but as a whole, what did you think about this episode? Where would you rank it among the top episodes of The Bear?
It's up there. I don't know where, but it's up there. Definitely one of my favorite of the series. Oh my God. It was like a movie, it's almost an hour and a half long or something like that. It's pretty long, but I would have taken countless hours of that episode. It was so, so beautiful. And it does so much in this episode. And it was funny, like what you're talking about. Dee Dee has this conversation with Sid, Carmy's mom, and she's like, it's funny. It's like, it's almost like your work family is sometimes closer than your family. And Sid's like, but your work family is your family. And I love a good found family kind of story. You know, love Guardians of the Galaxy. I grew up in the like alternative music world, and that's what that stuff is all about. Is found family, because you know, like a lot of people are disenfranchised from their family. Not that I am, but I didn't have the healthiest upbringing. I would say I'm still fine with my mom, but other than that, not so much. So my family has always been, or like my friends have always been my family. I've always found them synonymous to each other, and like that's a very big thing of this episode. But so beautiful, and what a star-studded cast in this episode. It was like Fishes on steroids, basically. I mean, this kind of is like a sequel to Fishes in a lot of ways, because it does kind of bring a lot of things together. There's a lot of Berzatto lore dropped in this one, which I thought was really cool. And I don't know if I'd say needed, but it was much appreciated, I think is the better term for it. But yeah, I don't know. Fishes and forks, I think are unbeatable. Maybe under there, I don't know. I really love napkins. It's up there. It's up there.
At worst, top 5.
Yeah, I would say top 5.
I think that's a good way to put it. Is at worst top 5, at best top 3, at worst top 5.
For sure. Yeah. I can mess with that.
One of the first individual points I want to touch on is the part that I actually expected to get the least in this episode, and that is the appearance of Lee. Not that he wouldn't be there, but the appearance of Lee, Bob Odenkirk, and the conversation he has with Carmy, where he reveals that, like, yeah, me and why am I forgetting John Bernthal's name off the top of my head? Mikey. Me and Mikey buried the hatchet. Like, we were good now. We spent some time together. And this, like, without doing a rewatch and just, like, kind of really remembering, this is just a dude who shows up and is an asshole. Like, that's kind of like the simplified version of his arc in this show until now.
Yeah, the last time we saw those two in a room, one was throwing a fork at the other, and the other one was saying they're nothing. So to hear that they came around and were friends and were cool, you even see Carmen's reaction being like, "You guys were what?" He was shocked. You know, it's like we were Carmy at that moment, being like, "What are you talking about? There's no way you two were friends. That's crazy." So that was a beautiful thing to see, and he kind of waxes poetic about, "Hey, we know your mom wasn't the best, but she's trying to be better, and she wants you in her life. She wants her family in life. She wants things to be better." And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, and it's, you know, you take a lifetime of like abuse, you know, and neglect and trauma, and it's a hard thing just to be like, yeah, it's fine, we can try and start over. But it's the start of kind of what comes later in the season with Carm and his mother, of him trying to kind of actually face life instead of avoiding it, which is important. And that was a big step, him coming to this wedding in general. You know, like a lot of people are kind of shocked to see him there, because he's a very kind of, even though he's, you know, a top restaurant that creates a very social environment, he's a very anti-social person. So it's like a big step for him to even be there. But then as he's trying to escape his mom, you know, he has this very kind of intense conversation with Lee that, like, one kind of, oh my God, Lee saying that Mikey was like proud of him and talked about him all the time. Oh, broke my heart in like the best way. I don't even know if I'm wording that right, but it was such a beautiful thing to almost have Carmy feel validated, because that's kind of always what it seems like what he always sought out to do. He just wanted to like make his brother proud, and just wanted to work with his brother, and to hear that,
And
like, oh yeah, he talks about you all the
so,
time.
like, it's painful, but it's beautiful to think about the lens this show takes on mental health, and realizing that if only Mikey saw himself the same way. Now, there was a lot more going on with Mikey than just depression, you know, like he had
For sure.
some demons going on in his head that he had to work through, and it wasn't just I think it went further beyond depression. But if only Mikey saw himself the same way Carmy sees him, or Richie sees him, and if the only Carmy, with what he's dealing with right now, saw himself the way that Mikey sees him, he'd have a lot more clarity and confidence to do what he needs to do going forward as well, as he struggles with his own self worth. So like it's a really powerful lens the way they kind of bring that all together.
Yeah, totally agreed. It was that like that knocked me on my ass when he said that. He's like, "You talked about you all the time." I was like, "Oh my god." I was like, "That dude needed to hear that." 1,000%. Poor dude. Ugh.
And one of the parts that I really enjoy about Lee saying like this, all of this happened, and I get why you feel the way that you do. But also she's trying. To me, one of the most, and it leads into the future conversation that Carmy and Donna have. It's so important, I think, with anybody who has struggled with an authority figure, a parent, a guardian, an older sibling, whoever it is, who has been very important, whether either in a good or bad way in their upbringing. When it's in a bad way, whether or not the person is different than they've used to be, have made changes for themselves, to me, at least for me personally, the most important thing to hear is acknowledgement that it happened. I did that, and I'm sorry. Your life was harder because I did that. And especially in a situation where, Donna's is quite to the extreme. But there's a lot of people who had parents who worked very hard for them, but still it caused them a lot of emotional distress growing up that turned itself into, whether it's mental illness or other traumas. And it's so important to be able to just go, yeah, that happened and I'm sorry. And that doesn't take away from the love and the work that they put in. But being able to acknowledge that is such a crucial step, because so many people sidestep it. So many people don't want to acknowledge the bad parts, whether because they think it takes the good parts away, or because they're not ready to deal with that within themselves, and it gets shied away for. So that is, to me, a very crucial change with Donna. Is it's not just, hey, I'm not drinking anymore, can we hang out? Hey, uh I'm not gonna try and I'm not gonna behave that way anymore. So let's hang out. No, let's hang out and have a conversation about how proud of I am of you, and I know the hurt I've caused you. That is huge. And the bear does a really good show don't tell moment here, where as Lee is telling Carmy this stuff about his mother, we see Sydney and Donna having a conversation, and we see these positive changes that Donna has undergone, and how her behavior has changed, and how she's starting to acknowledge some of these things with Carmy in her conversation with Sydney. What are your thoughts on Donna's role in this episode, and kind of getting to see her almost as like, if it's like they flash back and forth, but it almost felt like a side by side as Lee and Carmy have this conversation. So do Sydney and Donna.
I kind of felt for her in a way, uh, and seeing her. It's wild seeing her is like almost the outside looking in Carm's life. Like she's not really a part of it at all. And that's sad for sure. And it's almost like he became like a completely different person. I think she even says that when they have that conversation. She's like, I don't even know you, something along those lines. Because he like went off and did all these insanely like almost intangible things in life. Things that like I don't even know what percentage of the population have ever done. Like we talked about last Saturday, like the dude is like the best of the best. And she doesn't even like know how to like anything. Like she doesn't know how to approach him. She doesn't know how to do. He's just kind of there. It's kind of like a ghost of who she knew. But even when they were growing up, did she really know him? She was kind of too drunk, too chaotically emotional to even kind of realize what was going on. So it was sad, but it's like it was nice to see some kind of accountability, kind of like what you were saying. Like she kind of realizes that like hey, yeah, I know I messed up. But she doesn't really know how to fix it either. And the only way, which kind of proves to the point that she is trying to do better, is that she's like, I just need to exit myself from this situation because I don't want to make things worse again. Which I thought was like, oh, that's a very mature, smart way to kind of mend things, I guess, or at least alleviate any further pain, I guess might be the better way to say it.
Yeah, like it's not an end point, but it's certainly a beginning of recognition and a utilization of a coping mechanism to go, I'm not ready to handle this, therefore I'm going to remove myself from the situation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The big point, the big point, that's some great analysis and breakdown, TJ. Use some better words. The culminating event and like the main event really of this episode is the table talk, hanging out under the table, where Richie sort of gets his final moments of clarity with between his relationship with his daughter's stepfather. And to be fair, like that is a really, really touchy, if you put yourself in their shoes, a really, really touchy and difficult moment to figure out how to get through, because you have these two incredible women, your little daughter and your ex-wife, who there's clearly still so much love, even if it's not romantic love, sexual love, there's clearly so much love between them.
Mm-hmm.
Richie's worried about getting replaced. What's is it Frank the stepdad's name?
Oh my god, no, I was just thinking of it. Is it Frank?
Um quick double check. Frank, yes. Frank is worried that he'll never be able to live up to the standard that Richie has set, and he'll never fully be accepted by their daughter. And they're both very reasonable insecurities. And so to see them be able to bury the hatchet and work together and truly just kind of realize, I love it was something that Jess said early on. It's neither of you are replacing the other one. Your team is just getting bigger. Your family is just getting bigger. And as soon as both of them realize they don't have to be in competition, it's a lot, they'll both struggle a lot less with their self-worth because they're not putting themselves up against the other one all the time and comparing themselves to the other ones all the time. And so they hop under the table so that they can start consoling Ava, who is of course Richie's daughter. Eva, I don't remember Eva.
Eva.
And we get the fun moment where slowly, one after another, Frank, Richie, Claire, Carmy, Natalie, Francie Fack, who we haven't even talked about yet in this episode. The whole team gets under this table that felt a lot like a clown car that kept
Yes.
getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
I swear this was like a 4-person table at the beginning. And all of a sudden it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger so that they could all fit under there. This was a really fun, powerful, rehabilitative moment with getting everybody under there together, just going through their shit.
Yeah, it was kind of like it takes a village moment. You know, it's all kind of predicated on this little girl that's a little nervous to dance with her new stepdad, and uh, just a lot of reassuring and a lot of opening up from a lot of people. But yeah, as more people kept going in, Sam's like, okay, this is like a bit, right? It's like this table is just, there's no way the table is this big, right? There's no way, because it seems like it's just a small dessert table, like you said, like a 4-person table, and then there's like 20 people under. You know, it's like there's no way the table is this big. Like what are you
Very much
talking
like
about?
Clown Car Harry Potter tent of like you get in,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, whoa.
yeah, well, it's really big down here. Okay, cool. Really spacious. Like that's like a banquet table, dude.
Yeah,
Actually, I would love a behind the scenes of how they shot just
that
the
would be
table
very
scene.
fun. That would be very
I
fun.
would like that. I would like that a lot. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I would like that very much if they did that.
Not only does Ava get through this tough time, and everybody consoles her about not having a dance. She admits her fears, but Francie and Natalie reconnect. They're best friends again. We still don't know what she did, though.
Yeah, what happened?
All that we've heard to this point was, oh, she knows what she did. And now we still don't know. Are we ever going to find out what happened between the two of them?
I don't think so.
Either way, I love this dynamic between the two of them. I think it's so much fun.
It's great. Yeah, and so I hope she comes back and we get more Francie and Natalie interactions.
I'm
Even
not
though,
like I don't know that this is true. I could have totally made this up, but I feel like Brie Larson, now that she kind of has she got her Marvel bag, and she's sort of going like, I want to just go pop into some of my favorite things every now and then. Like, she's still doing some incredible performances in things like lessons in chemistry, because she's Brie Larson. She's an incredible actor. But I kind of feel like she's just doing some things like, ooh, I love the Bear. Hey, can I come in the next season of the Bear? And they're like, sure, we can figure something out for you. I love the Fast and the Furious franchise. Can I pop in here? Sure, we can figure something out for you. I love that I don't know that that's the case with the Bear. I do know that that's the case with Fast and the Furious. But if it is, I feel like that's pretty fun that Brie Larson just gets she's put in the work. She's got to a point where now she gets to just go, hey, what do I want to do? And gets to pop into some of these stuff and do a great job.
yeah, I think someone called the Fact family like the cameo machine, because like last season we got John Cena, this season we got Brie Larson. I'm like, true. And the thing about the facts is they've made them seem endless, so it could go on forever. We could get another a fact come in, and it's just another massive movie star, and I would love it so much. But it'd be nice to see her like come into the restaurant or something. I don't know. It's hard to see. Well, it's not hard to see where season 5 is going to go. It's pretty apparent where season 5 is going to go. But it would be nice to see those kind of things, like finally see Richie's ex and Frank come to the restaurant. They said when it's perfect. So I need that moment. They've been talking about that for 2 seasons now. Like, I need that payoff. I need it. I need them to come sit at the restaurant, because I would love for Richie to have that feeling in his heart and soul that, like, yes, the restaurant is now perfect. So we'll see.
Do you want to see Francie back in season 5? What do you think happened between Natalie and Francie? Were they together and they broke up? Was it that?
Maybe.
Wasn't that and more? What was going on between the two of these here that caused she knows what she did? If it's just a simple breakup, I don't think it's simple, and I want to know the details. I hope in season 5 we get a solo Natalie and Francie backstory flashback episode. That's what I want in season 5. Let's get the full details on what happened with the two of them. Ultimately, Richie returns home after the problems are solved by himself, but he's happy. He's alone, but he's not alone in the general sense. And it's nice to see. We kind of feel like Richie's arc kind of seems to like it has come to a close the most of any of these characters to me. Like, at this point, like, Richie, we'll get to, his role going forward after the finale. But Richie to me feels like the one out of this group that is maybe he and Marcus, as we kind of go further Tina, down the line. That just like really feels like, all right, they're where they need to be. They've done the work and they have climbed the hill, and they're at the top now. What do they want to do with it?
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Kind of weirdly skipping forward, the Marcus reveal of him being in, like, what was it? Food and Wine.
I thought that was going to be Sydney for sure.
Me too, dude. When they said Marcus, I was like, oh. I was like, yes. That made me so unbelievably stupid happy for this fictional story that is not real. I was so like happy in my heart at that moment. That was good stuff. It's nice when a show like this can continue to surprise you and things like that. Like, they could have taken the easy route and had Sid do it. You know what I mean? Like, but I guess she might not be a new chef technically. I don't really know how, like, when does your chef career start. I don't know, because I thought that was kind of her first job as a chef. Maybe I don't really know. They haven't really, not that they need to, but they haven't really like expounded on that. They kind of did in the first season, sort of, but
Like she's about to be a brand new co-owner with this. Like to me, that still feels
yep,
like she's probably
new,
under 30
yeah,
or at the
for
most
sure,
early 30s.
yeah,
Like uh I feel like that's still pretty darn new to me. But either
yeah,
way, I was very happy for Marcus, and he deserved it. He put in the work, and
right,
after this wedding, we kind of get the beginning of everybody figuring out what they want to do. Marcus is at that point; he gets the award. Sydney calls Shapiro. I still don't remember if it's Shapiro or Shapiro.
Shapiro,
And she, which one?
Shapiro,
Shapiro. She calls him and she's like, "Nah, see you later. I'm done." And he's like, "You're an idiot," basically, for lack of a better word. Lack of better words. He absolutely
yeah,
flames her. And honestly, I don't blame him. Not because I think his opportunity is so much better for Sydney and that
mhm.
she should have chosen it, but because of how long she strung him along for.
Yeah, she like
That would be the only reason if I would be pissed if I was him.
for sure. I was so confused. And I was like, did she sign or did she not sign? Like, and like you see him call Carmy, like you don't see the conversation, but you see it's on
Yeah.
his phone that he's calling him. And I'm like, definitely what he's calling him about is that, of course. So it was like, I was like, and it seems like maybe she did sign it and then back out. I think they never really explained that either, but that's kind of the
Yeah.
gist I get. And I understand why Sid made that decision for sure. Because again, she has a family that she's built over. Oh, yeah. And I think they've explained all of this, what's happened in the bear has happened over the course of a year. Bro, that is the most stressful, traumatic year from some people who have come from some very traumatic childhoods. That's a heavy ass year, dude. Through a lot of changes and like metamorphosis, like physically and mentally and environmentally. Like that's a year, bro. Holy shit, that's wild.
You know how after, whether it's a wedding or just like say a concert, a late night with some friends, a birthday party the next day, you meet up for some brunch and you just kind of have the like, whew, all right, that was big. Let's calm back down a little bit. Let's refresh. That's what episode 8 felt like to me,
Mm,
where everybody kind of gets a little moment. Richie and Jess have a chat about Mikey. Uh,
mm,
Tina and Luca start working together a little bit, and Luca gives some great advice of like the pressure's always going to be there. Instead of trying to get rid of it, just
oh,
harness it.
that pressure
Like
speech. Whew.
utilize that energy, and that was just a real great speech, real great moment. Makes me very happy that Will Poulter is there as Luca back in this show because I feel like he kind of just seems like a presence of almost like it's funny that he's like among the youngest there because it
Mm,
almost seems like he's like the old grizzled veteran who's just coming in to save the day and answer all the questions. He's
right.
wow, this guy came back after all of this time. He holds all the records at this place. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like this is a an old mentor type figure coming back to save the day where he's this young, ripped, handsome man that we all want to see on the screen a little bit more. It's fun, and I'm happy that he's back in this show. Natalie and Computer are figuring out if, like, to me, this moment I feel like was supposed to hit harder, where Natalie and Computer are going through the finances, and Computer's like, "Okay, but why? Why are
Mm.
we doing this at this point? Is this place worth saving?" And I feel like to us, we kind of know we are so bought in at this point that it's like, yes, yes, it is. We are on board. This is family. Of course, it's worth saving. But
And
it's
there's
I found it almost a little bit hard to detach and see the logic side of it as opposed to the heart and the feeling side of it, and get on Computer's page. But I guess that's why he's Computer.
Yeah, and it's hard too because it's like the interaction ends with uh Rob Reiner's character kind of talking to Computer and then kind of conversing about Ibra's business plan. That's like a very like you know, the whole time during the finale, I thought Carm knew about it, because that's kind of the way he was talking when he's like, "Oh, we'll figure it out." Like, because they're like, "This is our last day in business," is pretty much kind of what they pose it as. Well, they're very uncertain, but it could be the last day the bear is in business, and there's this big secret like revelation just happening on the side. And I swore Carmy knew, but after he kept going, "Oh, we'll figure it out," I'm like, "Oh, he doesn't know." I feel like he just would have said it. Like, they would make no sense for him to not say it if he did knew, but he did try and call Unk, and he did not pick up, which I thought was a nice touch of him being back in the refrigerator to make that call. It's almost like he's trying to take back that space, and make it more a place of healing rather than a place of destruction, which I thought was a beautiful parallel too. It's subtle, it's they don't tell you, they show you. I love that. But it's like Ibra's thing is here, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's open up one's going to be a warehouse and two more shops," and I'm like, that's going to be an insanely profitable business. That's probably going to keep the restaurant open, but it's still, and that's part
That
of the
was
thing
my
of,
question throughout the entirety of this, though, because whose business is it? Because Ibra and Rob Reiner are having this conversation throughout the entirety of it, and Carmy is not mentioned, and Uncle's not mentioned, and Computer's not mentioned until they meet for the first time. Where it's like, is this going to be just Ibra? Is this Ibra and Rob Reiner? Who owns the rights to this business?
I think it's still Carmy. Well, it's whoever owns the bear, because the beef is an extension of the bear, and he keeps saying, "I need to talk to Chef Carmy to make sure it's okay." And I don't think that conversation happens. And I think the conversation between Rob Reiner's character and Computer happens, which then conversely happens with Uncle. But none of the conversations are happening together yet. And I think I think that's what season 5 is going to be like. Oh,
It does feel
here's
like
our
there's a little bit
second
of a
lead scene.
setup for a scare of, well, why do you need the bear? Why do you need the bear to do the beef? Why don't we just go? You have this business model. Why don't you just do it? He hasn't even taken the time to talk about you. He apologized for it, and you haven't seen him again. It does feel like they're setting up a potential beef bear. Not, I don't think the resolution will be a breakup. I think ultimately they'll stay together, but I think they're setting up the fear of a breakup for season 5.
For sure. I obviously the Michelin star thing did not get resolved either. And
Mm-hmm.
we know the guy visited the restaurant twice, and he was part of that very special episode with the snow and the beef sandwich coming out. And Richie he's like, treat everyone like they're the number one. And he did in that moment. He was fully embracing that mantra. And like I feel like that's going to be a part of it. Could start off like that. Like, it could
They
kind
better
of like
get
how
that.
this
They
season,
got that star. They got to
for
have
sure.
got that star.
Yeah. So I think where season 5 can be, like, this season was like the bear versus the clock. I think season 5 could be the bear versus the beef in a way, but they can finally find a way. Like, the bear can be the thing that keeps it alive for now, as the bear finally tries to figures itself out, because this season has been a season of healing and them kind of really, because even when Natalie's having that conversation with the computer, they're like, we're doing fine. Like, but they need to be doing better than fine. That's the problem. But again, if you have this extra cash influx coming with that, and it's all operating under the same business, then boom, game over. That's it. That's all you need. And something that hasn't even been touched on is that Mikey did want a franchise. That was like his whole thing. He kept talking about that and talking like all these business ideas that failed. So I think Carm would be ecstatic to have that happen, because that's like his brother's legacy living on forever. Uh, so it's beautiful stuff. Like, it's there again. It's good TV in a way of they're setting up things for the future, and they can culminate it. And I think season 5 probably should be the final season. I don't know what else there's left after kind of tying all this stuff together. But I'm also not the creator and writer of the series, so I can't say anything. That's just like what it feels like. It feels like they're ramping up towards an end for sure.
To me, it depends whether or not how long they draw it out, because I could see season 5. Season 5 to me most likely seems like the conclusion to it, because let's save that. Actually, let's save that, because I have a very specific question that I want to ask you that we will get to. But episode 9, the big focal point really is we get the Donna and Carmy conversation, and you talked about how that really, really moved you, and so I'll not even really lead into it. There's not much that goes on in that episode other than more the franchising of the beef window that we talked about. Marcus gets named one of the top upcoming young chefs in food and wine, which we talked about, and so feel free to dive into the Donna and Carmy conversation. Sorry, I didn't make a rundown in advance, so you get no setup. You just get, hey, handle it.
Yeah. Again, like a very hard. I was sobbing this entire conversation, because it is hard to see someone be accountable for something, but still, and to see Carmy kind of, he didn't freak out, he didn't run away, he accepted it, and tried to truly kind of like, I don't know if forgive is the right word, but kind of show her who he is now, and having him cook her dinner and having it be the chicken that was set up in season 3, episode 1 that we saw him making. And we saw that great chef come over and give him all these tips. And like, it's kind of, we talked about last episode of like how he's had both ends of the spectrum of these nurturing, like amazing environments and work, and then probably the worst one ever. And he's kind of been the combination of both in his own professional life. And he's trying to see like, I need to be what nourished me rather than what destroyed me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so nice to see him kind of feel that this season. But to see him face his demons, literally and figuratively, head on, and have this really insanely hard conversation.
Was he literally facing demons, Sean? Were there
I
literal
mean,
demons that he was?
in his life, his mom is kind of a demon, you know.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. I started picturing in my head Carmy with like the cleaver that Sydney lost, fighting off hell demons. That's what started popping up into my head, and so I couldn't just let it pass by.
It's a different kind of show, brother. I'd watch it though.
Yeah, I'd definitely watch that spinoff.
Yeah, but it was. I loved it. Like, anything that can make me break down like that, it's obviously effective. So I thought it was really well done, and obviously needed. Like, Carmy's on this path of healing and forgiveness, and kind of seeking forgiveness in his own right, which he's semi-successful on by the end of the season. I think he's getting there, but again, kind of like his mom, he's got a lot to prove to other people. So it's kind of a weird reflection of himself. Like, even when Richie pulled the lowest of blows and said he's just like his mom, rough. The worst insult you can bring to someone is compare someone to their abusive parent. Not good. But when you get in those heightened moments of emotionally charged arguments, sometimes that shit happens. But yeah, it's kind of him facing a mirror, or kind of him trying to rectify things so he doesn't become that. You know, his mom kind of avoided things through alcohol, in a very unhealthy way, and he has avoided everything else in his life by cooking. And that's just kind of it's such a weird thing. It's something he's so incredibly good at. He's so amazing at, but he's realized that his life has boiled down to, he did something to avoid everything else, and that's not healthy.
Richie was the example of fight throughout the series, and he's the example of flight. When people go through a death or a traumatic experience, those are the natural responses. There's to not face the grief, to not face the trauma, but fight or flight. And Richie has kind of been the through point of fight, and very literally, unlike the demons. No, I'm kidding. Carmy has been the through point for flight.
Yeah, for sure.
We finally get to the conclusion of this season, and I shouldn't really say finally because it went by really quick for me. Like, I felt like this season really zipped by as I was watching it. But the conclusion to episode 9 is everything that we worry about in episode 10, where The penultimate was a big conversation, and the finale is a big conversation, but the cliffhanger at the end of episode 9, going back to this season should have been week to week and not a binge. Sydney finds out that the new and updated agreement for ownership for the bear doesn't have Carmy's name on it. It is 1/3 to Uncle, 1/3 to Natalie, and 1/3 to Sydney. No Carmy. Dun dun dun. And the entirety of the finale is just the two leads, Sydney and Carmy, Ayo Edebiri and Jeremy Allen White giving two phenomenal acting performances, having a dialogue. Carmy wants to quit, and he insists that it is not him running away again. Sydney could have left, just decided to stay. And now her partner, her inspiration, who no matter how difficult he made her life, he was still the reason she wanted to do this and the reason she wanted to stay. One of the reasons she wanted to stay. And we get the clash. And this was a really, really powerful back and forth where I gotta say, I'm Team Sydney. Carmy, you are just figuring this shit out. You don't have to leave. You can take a lesser role, but you don't have to leave.
It's part of like what I was saying. Like, he knows that in order to find himself as a human being, he needs to take this out of the situation. And I it's hard because I respect what he does. And it's funny because like as this conversation is happening, it's like Carmy saying all this stuff about her. And I think it's part of Sid's insecurities of she doesn't think she's rightful to do this on her own. And it is hard too. But again, she's also not listening. She's like, I'm not going to leave now. We're going to figure this out. Then I'm going to leave. He definitely could have handled it in a better way. And it was this season was the case of they both had two very big things they needed to talk to each other about. And every time they go to talk to each other, something big and massive happened, whether it's the baby coming in or her dad having a heart attack or whatever. It's like, it was like almost like they were meant to have this conversation in the most dramatic way possible, which, TV, of course. But I understand both viewpoints. I don't think either of them are necessarily wrong or right, but it was funny as they were going. It's like Sam was like, he's saying literally the nicest things ever to her, and she's mad about it. And I was like, true, but I was like, I get her perspective too. She's like, she's feeling abandoned at this moment.
In addition to that, like my reason of I hear everything you're saying, and I agree with it. My one kind of thought process of is going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode was that if only Carmy could see himself the way Mikey saw him. And so when he says to her, like, I believe in you to run this restaurant more than I believe in myself to run this restaurant. Yes, Sydney does deserve that. And that is the ultimate compliment because he's incredible at his job. But that's still him not seeing his worth in a situation. Sydney needs his help, and he doesn't see why he's a valuable help. He thinks it's better for him to just get away. And that, to me, is still handling things the way that his mom is at this point, which is, I'm not ready to handle things yet. I got to get out of here, which is, again, a very viable coping mechanism, but it's not the end point. And so that's why things bring back to me, which is the conversation that I think we can have right now. 1, will season 5 be the last season? And 2, will this season end? Will the end of the bear end with Carmy at the restaurant or Carmy not at the restaurant? Will the restaurant, assuming the restaurant continues, will he be there or will he not be there at the end of the series? I kind of feel like there's a chance that he's not there if season 5 is the final season. And I do think there could be a resolution and have him get back if season 5 is the final season. But I could also see season 5 being the type of season where season. Just said it so many times in the span of a couple minutes that the word started feeling very weird to me. Didn't feel like a real word anymore. I could see it being a sense where all throughout the next group of episodes. The bear is beginning to click and they're almost there, but there's some kind of hump that they can't get over. Meanwhile, Carmy is on this journey of self-actualization, and then the finale is, oh no, something terrible is going to happen. We thought we saved the restaurant, but have we not saved the restaurant? And then Carmy comes back in. He rejoins the family, not as a part owner, but as the head chef. So Sydney is his boss, but he's also the one in charge of the kitchen. And it's like something like that. And they get together, they accomplish their goal. And that is the end of The Bear. That would be kind of my prediction of if they go further than season 5. That could potentially be done in one season, but I feel like that would be potentially the 2-season arc. How do you think it plays out?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's sort of like a weird thing, like how I identify with how Carmy feels. I'm going through this very weird thing with playing music right now, and like the whole like it's okay if you fell out of love of something. It just matters the capacity you loved it, and I'm really struggling mentally if that's happening with me with music, which happened to me before. I quit playing music like 7 years or 8 years ago or something, and didn't play it for like 6 years. There was a long period, like I sold all my gear. That's how bad it was. I was like, I don't want any of this stuff. I sold it. Still very involved in music in my life. It's still my job in many forms, but playing music became very disenfranchised for me. And it's probably the way my band broke up and things like that, whatever. And now that I'm like at that point again, I would never go to the extreme of selling all my stuff again. Mostly because I know how dumb and hard it is to buy all that stuff back. It's very expensive and dumb. It's easy, but it's expensive and time consuming. So even if he does walk away, for sure, 100% walks away, I feel like he'll come back eventually, because once that stuff is like to your DNA, especially to the degree it is with him, it never leaves you ever. No matter sometimes how hard you probably want it to. I could see him coming back. And I feel like that would be a nice full circle moment for him to go kind of find himself and then come back to it in a newly refreshed and reinvigorated way where he can approach this from a place of love rather than a place of need and avoidance. Because it's totally capable to take something and be able to reform how you feel about it. And I just think he needs a break. You know, he's been doing it since I don't even know how long, but seemingly a very long time. And I think he just needs to recharge himself as a human, and then I think he could come back to it. And I think that would be a good realization and a good moment of growth for him. But I love that they brought like Sid's like, I'm only doing this if Richie takes your spot in the agreement. I love that, and I love seeing Richie be like, yes, I'm all about this. And that's a great kind of full circle moment for him. The conversation between Richie and Carm was great, and it made some progression, but not fully. I need them to work their shit out. Because it's not fully worked out. I think a little bit got there for sure. I think the whole conversation with Mikey's funeral helped a little. And him kind of admitting that, like, yeah, I know I went through something awful, but I totally negated that
you did too.
A lot of other people went through something awful. I think that acknowledgement goes a long way. And it's hard because it's like, I've seen this happen. I'm sure everyone's seen this in real life. People are like, yeah, I'm trying to grow and be as a human. And you see them grow in certain facets. But even when you're so mad at someone and they offer the hand to be like, hey, I messed up, I want to fix this, and they're still like, no, that kind of negates all the growth you said you're growing through, because that's not growth. Not to take away any feelings of being upset or being wronged. That was totally fair.
To a point, right? Like there are obviously certain events that are like, no, you don't get to come back from that. This has scarred me permanently, and you don't get to come back from that. I am placing this boundary here. But assuming you are wanting to build that reconnection eventually, and like when somebody acknowledges that their part in the problem, if you want any type of future there, that's when it is. If you've had the growth, that's when you have to acknowledge it and say, like, I may not be ready to be there yet, but I see you, and I appreciate you for saying that.
And it's crazy because you've seen Richie kind of do the same thing. Exactly what Carmy's trying to do with Natalie, with Sid. Compare Sid season 1, Sid and Richie season 1 to now. Insane. You never would have thought it would have gotten there. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
in
they
a
hated
similar
each other.
vein, in this most similar season with Frank, of not the same type of combative, like aggressive combativeness, but the jealousy. They
Yeah, for
each
sure.
envied each other's relationships with Mikey.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. He's like, you had time with her, and he's like, you had time with him. And Richie's like, yeah, but he loved you more than he ever could have loved me. You know, it's such a weird thing. But again, it goes to the point of perspective. Like, you were both important in his life. And that's the bottom line. It doesn't need to be this weird competition. The competition isn't real. Oh, it's only in your head. So that's the one thing. Like, I really love this conversation and what it did. I just need that closure between Carmen and Richie. We're so close. We're almost there. And I'm fine with them taking it on and them kind of taking the steps, but I really need that to happen, especially for Richie too. You know, like he's in this such immense like journey of growth in his life. And I think that needs to happen in order for it to be 100% like in the green. You know what I mean?
I could totally see them doing this, but I'm going to be so pissed if the beginning of next season is like a year later.
Oh,
Couldn't
I
you
could
see
see
that
that
being the
too.
case?
I could see that too. Because that's what I kind of like about TV shows is that they thrust you into this certain time period in life, you know, and you kind of just got to catch up with where it is. That's the thing that's so great. We talked about this last week. Like, at this point, we didn't know if it was getting greenlit or what the plans were. There's ideas for season 5, but there's no actual script. And it's like, this is the first season. We don't know when we're going to get it. You know, The Bear has been one of the most consistent TV shows, is that we get it a season each year since it debuted. We've gotten a season every single year. And I think this next season, there's no way they'd have to start filming like now. And they're just a set photo just came out with Evan Boss Backrack and a mocap suit from an Avengers set. Like, he's not going to be filming The Bear anytime soon. So I don't even know when this can happen. I feel like the scheduling nightmare for this show is probably this. I feel like this is going to be the, whatever season of Euphoria that is finally coming out or filming. I don't even know. I don't watch Euphoria, so I'm not totally caught up, but it was the same thing. Like, it started, became this massive hit. Everyone in the show became the biggest young movie stars, and then it took a million years for them to schedule this final season. I feel like that's why this kind of needs to be the final season too, is everyone is so massive at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, not massive, but the main 3 players are pretty damn big and in very
Yeah.
acclaimed
I
things.
Io, Ebon, and Jeremy Allen White are all very billable right now.
Yeah. I would love to see the guy who plays Marcus in more things. I think he's
Me
great.
too.
Even watching him in interviews, he seems just like Marcus in real life too. And I'm like, I want this guy in more stuff, just because I feel like I like him. Like, I feel like he's just like an awesome guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. I just don't know when it's going to happen.
My final thoughts on the episode, I agree with what you were saying about like Richie accepting. That was a really cool scene for me, because I appreciated that he was like, Chef Sydney, no, like don't do that for me. Like, I don't need you to do that for me. And she's like, bro, that's not for you. I need you. Let's do this together, please. And he's like, oh shit, are we doing this? Like, oh, we're doing this? Okay, yes, chef,
Let's
I'm
go.
in. I am in,
Let's
chef.
go.
And I just love that, how he was like, I don't want a handout. And it wasn't like, no, it's not a handout. Like, I
No,
want you
yeah.
to be my
No.
partner. And he was like, oh shit, yes, chef, let's do it. It just got me really fired up.
Yeah. Him being like, is this
It
real?
really softened the blow of Carmy leaving.
Yeah. Him being like, it's real. And she looks at Carmy and he's like, it's real. I was like, that was such a gratifying moment, for real. Even though it's just like an exchanging of words, like, it just felt so good.
Yeah, 100%. It was, shout out to our friend Matt Remke at the Direct. He always says movies are sports, and it really did feel like one player is either, getting traded or retiring, leaving the team, and everyone's worried the team is getting broken apart, and then the two other stars go, oh no, let's run it back. We're staying here. We're not going anywhere. It's kind of what it felt like in that moment. Let us know, what do you think is going to go down in The Bear Season 5? How long do you think it'll be before it comes out? You can let us know on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And of course, don't miss our breakdowns for Love Island every Wednesday, Comic Corner every Thursday. This Friday, we will be reviewing Superman, which is dropping in theaters this week. And then we are only a couple weeks away, from Fantastic Four. And you can also find our Ironheart breakdowns on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, in addition to our interview with executive producers Sev Ohanian and Zoe Negalut, are now streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your pods. So check those out. Sean, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your pod? What do you have cooking these days? Don't let me forget, I also have to ask you something before we get out of here.
Okay. You can find me
after we're off, when we're off air.
Yes. You can find me anywhere on social media at MetalCoreNerds, MetalCoreNerds podcast, where I have people from the music industry and we talk about pop culture. Just had a new one with this super awesome singer of this awesome band, Psycho Frame, super MySpace deathcore type stuff. An old friend of mine, Mike Sugars, and we talked about our top 5 movies of the year so far. That drops bi-weekly anywhere you find podcasts, on YouTube as well. And right now I'm finishing up a article about that amazing scene from the latest Rick and Morty episode with James Gunn and Zack Snyder, which I'm sure is going to have a ton of super normal, level-headed comments on it. I'm sure, but that'll come sometime this week. I'm finishing it up today, so very stoked about that one.
And the real question, I think, more important than the beef between the fans of Zack Snyder and James Gunn, will be the beef between you and I if you never ever invite me in your podcast, Sean. Like, just one time, okay, for some reason, I would, just say, like, hey, I even if it's out of my depths, I'll decline. But I want the invite at least. I want to at least to feel like I'm wanted. I'm the opposite.
You are
of Richie.
wanted.
I will
I'm waiting for the right time.
I will take the charity. I'm the opposite of Richie.
It'll happen. Be patient.
That'll do it for this week. I'm just giving you a hard time. That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Like I said, we will see you later on in the week for Love Island, Comic Corner, and Superman. So stay tuned, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the Agents of Fandom on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of myself and Sean, we will see you next time, everybody. Peace.